إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. أما بعد، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. ربنا زدنا علما. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا ونور صدورنا وذهب همومنا وغمومنا وجلاء أحزاننا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, it is by the immense grace and tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are able to bring about this webinar and present it to you, inshallah ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, Seeking Jannah brings to you a wide variety of Quran courses. Our signature program is the Hifz course, which is the one-to-one personalized sessions, as well as we have some group sessions as well, and we have various other courses for tajweed and tilawah and qa'idah. Alhamdulillah. It is our honor that we have Sister Iroda amongst us today to enlighten us on a very important topic regarding Islamic parenting. It is indeed a mammoth responsibility placed upon our shoulders regarding our kids. May Allah allow us to fulfill this amana, and may Allah enable us and guide us to be the best parents, inshallah. Sister Iroda Ahmed has been blogging about Islamic parenting and homeschooling over at Raising Young Scholars since 2011. Barakallahu fiha. You can check out her website at raising-scholars.com. Sister Iroda has authored the ebook Days of Parenting Inspiration with Iroda Ahmed to help Muslim parents raise their children with a focus on their Islamic identity. You can download it for free on her website, inshallah. She is a teacher and a teacher trainer by profession and currently works at a university while raising 6 children. Barakallahu fiha. She produced and hosted the first of its kind Muslim podcast dedicated solely to parenting called Monday Musings. Currently, Monday Musings is available on Alhamdulillah. Over to you, Sister Iroda. Jazakallah khayran kathira for gracing us with your presence.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, I have sore throat, and this webinar was actually scheduled for last Saturday, and when Sister Shaz asked me, it reminded me yesterday, I was too shy to cancel again. So I'm just gonna say Bismillah, shake it off, and go ahead. And you can just sense I've got sore throat, right? Inshallah, if it causes any inconvenience. So this workshop or webinar is based on the book called Hold On to Your Kids, Why Parents Should Matter More Than Peers. It's by Dr. Gordon Newfield and Dr. Gabor Mate. I will be sharing my own takeaways, insights, as well as reflections based on my own experience and based on other readings that I have done. I have to say, this was one of the best books I read in 2021. It had an immense impact on my life, on my internal journey. So I highly, highly recommend this book. MashaAllah, great, great book. So let's just dive straight in. In today's session, we will be talking about the power of attachment and understand the power of relationships and how we can use it. Why self-regulation is more important than self-suppression, and why we should do as parents, we should focus more on time in rather than time outs, and how we can mentor children into emotionally resilient adults, and why parents should always matter more than peers, and how to have a deeper and stronger relationship with your children. Mashallah, they analyze the problems in today's society, and they also give solutions towards the end of the book. So it's really practical book, mashallah, but it's also the one that makes you reflect internally, look back on your own childhood, and it's very, very healing, mashallah. So let me just start by asking you the question. Before you had children, were you prepared for parenting? I'm just going to open comments, see if we can see. Were you prepared for parenting? Did you read books? Did you get ready? If yes, how did you get ready? What did you do in your preparation? Sister Amina saying no. I'm just going to wait for a couple more responses and then we will continue, inshallah. Okay, Sister Love, Peace, whatever your name is, saying, I thought I was. Yes, read many books and asked other women. MashaAllah, well done. Most of us don't even do that, right? We usually buy clothes, get the cot ready. Sister Fatima says no. Yeah, for most people, we it's something that we don't prepare ourselves in terms of internal journey, but we buy clothes, we get the room ready, we just buy cot and things like that. Sister Willa saying, I read books. Yeah, mashallah. It's really good. But for most people, we think that having a child instantly makes us a parent, which is true, but also nothing could be further from the truth, right? Because there are a whole set of skills that we don't have yet, and we will be learning on the go. And this is the nature of parenting, nothing to it parenting, because the truth is we are all trial and erroring on the go. This is the true nature of parenting. No matter how many books you read, how much you prepare, your child is an individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created it as a separate soul, with a unique soul. And so we will be trial and erroring on the go all the time, and which is why it's exhausting, tiring, mentally, physically, emotionally, subhanallah, because we think we're getting it wrong, or we are overdoing it, or we are underdoing it. So there's this guilt and shame, self guilt and self shame there. But at some point you will realize that most of parenting has nothing to do with your children. It's actually you looking inwardly, and trying to heal some of your own childhood wounds. Because once you have children, they are just triggers for some things that we experienced as a child and not healed, like we didn't get over it, right? So it's very, very important that we should be able to, it happens at some point, as your children grow older, you will look more back on your own childhood on reflection, and you can see the repeating patterns, like things that you said you would never do. Once you have children, you see yourself repeating patterns, whatever it is, shouting, yelling, spanking. And this is the sign of an unhealed childhood wounds. And for if we I can't remember where I got this quote, but it says, if you don't heal your own childhood wounds, you bleed into the future. So most of parenting is about recognizing our own childhood wounds and trying to heal them. And subhanallah, children help us in many ways to um, showcase our own weaknesses, because they're like mirrors. The children are like mirrors, so you can truly see yourself in your interactions with your children, like the things that you have to improve, the habits that we need to quit. So this book has really, really helped me to unpack some of the things. So the first thing the book addresses is stress. Yeah. So we all know stress is based on fear. So when you perceive something to be danger, we get stressed, right? And in response, your body activates fight, flight, or freeze response. So which one of these is healthy and which one of these is unhealthy? So I'm sure most of you are aware with these terminologies. When we get stressed, we respond with fight, flight, or freeze mode. Which ones do you think are healthy and which ones are unhealthy? From a scientific point of view. Sister Maria says no one seem healthy. Yes, we we try to avoid stress, right? It's actually healthy to a certain degree, because stress is partly what motivates you, what helps you to discipline yourself. It gives you willpower. But unfortunately, right now we're living as a society, we're leading very, very stressful lifestyle. Yeah. If let's say Sister Maria and me myself are in a room, yeah, and I either verbally or physically assault Sister Maria, what are her options? What can she do? That's very stressful for her. Yeah, if I verbally or physically assault you, abuse you in the room, you and me alone, what are her options? What can she do? Yeah, she can flight, which means she can just say, I have no time for this nonsense. She can just get up and leave the room, right? Or she can fight back. She can say, she can confront, this is unacceptable behavior. You can't do this to me. You can't say this to me, right? You can confront. Or the third option would be freeze, which is tuning out. She completely shuts down. She does not want anything to enter her, and she blocks out. So it would be, animals actually have this as well. The freeze response is usually they play dead. They just freeze, literally, the animals, right? They also have this stress response. But human beings, we can't literally freeze, but we can space out internally, we can tune out, we can shut down, we can block. So healthy stress responses are fight or flight, because when you fight, when you speak out, when you confront, or when you flight, when you run away, you don't actually incur any internal trauma. Trauma is usually caused by freeze response. This is based on the book. So Dr. Gabor Mate argues that childhood trauma is not what happened to you, it's what happened to the inside of you as a result of what happened to you. So everything you experienced, bullying or emotional neglect. Maybe one of the parents passed away when you were very very young, or maybe the parents got divorced or separated, or these are all very traumatic experiences, but they are not trauma in and of itself. Trauma is what happened, like how did you process, what happened to your brain, how pathologically how it developed in that period as a result of what you experienced. So stress manifests in the early childhood development in many different ways, and usually stressed parents are not emotionally available to kids. So if both parents are working full time, you know um, it's too difficult to be available to your child, and stressed parents are more likely to have children with ADHD, ADD, OCD, asthma, multiple sclerosis, or all sorts of autoimmune diseases. And they have actually proven this with scientific studies, that when a mother is stressed, already you have high levels of cortisol and adrenaline in your blood, which directly affects the fetus in the womb of the mother, right? So already this baby would be more prone to stress upon birth. And if both parents are working and the child is being left in nursery from I don't know, 1 year onwards, um, usually there are not enough nurturing adults surrounding that child, and there are no nurturing adults who are emotionally available to be present to that child. So that can cause many things that can impact the development of the brain. And the essence of the book is how emotions affect our cognitive functioning. This is the essence of the book. So the main message from the book is parenting is not a role, it's a relationship. This is the main one. So always remember, parenting is not a role. You don't have the authority role. It's more a relationship. So the power of parenting, what does that mean? Is the power of parenting comes from a desire of a child wanting to belong to you. So from a desire of the child wanting to attach to you. And you've had many terminologies. It could be attachment parenting, conscious parenting. It basically means being aware of your child's emotional and spiritual needs, and being aware how these needs impact their development at all levels. So early emotional health and emotional well-being plays a huge role on how child turns up later on in life. That's very, very important, right? So we can't, validation is very, very important. We can't deny them. Usually we say things like, oh, don't be sad, don't be angry. There's nothing to be sad about. There's nothing to be angry about. Just get over it. Things like that. You can't deny a child, if they're experiencing a negative emotion. You can't deny that experience to a child, but we can teach them self-regulation instead of self-suppression. Because when we say things like, you can't be angry, there's nothing to be angry about, you can't be sad, they actually learn how to suppress themselves, which is freezing, right? They learn how to space out. They learn how to tune out, because they think that something they should not be experiencing, something that they should not be feeling, they're feeling. So there's something very, very wrong with them internally. And can you imagine being left all alone um, with overwhelming feelings that are not acceptable to nurturing adults around you, you know, uh, feeling very insecure. So, uh, what really helps is self regulation. So, that usually happens with validation. Oh, I see you are upset. I see you are angry. Tell me about it. What can we do? You look very angry. Do you want to punch the pillow? Or with all the kids, you look very sad. Just say astaghfirullah, or just validate whatever happened. Yes, you're right, right? Whatever, there is a difference between emotion and the behavior. So they're entitled to have their emotions, and emotions, when we allow them to feel, it melt away. They melt away, but they can't hurt other, like the little siblings or somebody else, just because they're angry. There's a difference between uh, actions and emotions, right? But if we validate, if we show that the children are seen, heard, understood, then it helps them to overcome that emotion. So they learn how to regulate and not to repress. And this is the essence of tarbiyah, even from an Islamic point of view. Tarbiyah is bedtime cuddles, mealtime conversations, telling stories of companions, the brave heroes of the past. This is tarbiyah, because we try to teach so many things to children, but if they are not emotionally present, they will not take any of our messages on board. You understand? If they don't feel they are seen, they are heard, they are understood, or they are valued, then they will not take our messages on board. So being emotionally present and available, very important, because that will serve as a blueprint in the decades to come, right? And Sheikh Salman Al Oda was asked one time, how do you get your kids to love Salah? And this is the question many parents ask. My children very reluctant to pray Salah. My children don't want to pray on time. They always neglect their Salah. They always. I also receive many emails like they pray towards the end. I keep threatening. I keep nagging. So what can I do? One of the questions that many of us struggle, right? How do you get your kids to love Salah? What was his response? Can anyone answer? What did Sheikh say? Sister say to pray ourselves. Yeah, yeah. Be a role model. Yeah, but no, that this is not his response. Just waiting for a couple more responses. So, how do you get your kids to love the Salah? Okay, Sister Fatima says to love Allah first. Yeah, Sister Maria says to connect with kids and then spark in them the values you deem important too. This is more close to it, yes. He replied, have them love you first. Yani connection, right? Connection and bonding. There must be connection and bonding between the parent and the child. There must be. Otherwise, yes, modeling is also very important, like being the role model. But I've also seen in many cases parents say, I always pray on time. I always, as soon as I hear the adhan, I get up, I make wudu, I pray, and I make sure children see me. But still, they don't follow my example, right? And I've seen many cases like that. I've experienced it myself as well. And the reason is we don't have that warmness. uh, we are being the right role model, but maybe hard-heartedly, sometimes there's a lack of connection and bonding. Maybe we sometimes we mean or rude or say things that humiliate them. So it's very important that we get this right. have them love you first. Yani, you have to develop a relationship with your child first, and then they will listen to you, and then they will take your message on board. And the relationship is very, very important, right? Sister says it was about making them joy being with you, bonding. Yes, yes. Yeah, all the other things are you said correct. I'm just going through the comments. Yes, but the first thing is you have to develop a relationship, right? Because tarbiyah is founded upon relationships. So we always talk about tarbiyah versus talim. Talim is memorizing facts, and tarbiyah, what is essentially what is tarbiyah? How does it differ from talim? And Sheikh Abu Isa says tarbiyah is essentially an emotional exercise, not a physical one. So it's essentially your relationship with your. It's founded upon your relationship with your child. So if we want to give them good tarbiyah, then we must focus on having a good relationship, which is connection and bonding and being emotionally present and available, right? So what motivates children to come to Islam? Number one, parents, our own values, our own habits. Number two, recognition. So we should give them the feeling of valued, and we should give them opportunities to serve. Beliefs, that my relationship with God is very, very important. You demonstrate it from a very young age. But also peers are a huge influence nowadays, and they are overtaking parents. Well, they have overtaken parents, in most parts of the world. Peers influence children more than the parents, which is essentially a problem, which creates many, many problems in society. So, children today, this is how they concluded based on their studies, research. The children today increasingly look to their peers for direction, for values, for identity, for codes of behavior. And this obviously results in family being undermined and healthy development disrupted, right? It was Aristotle who said you can't solve the problem at the level that created it. So what we see now, if like let's say 7 8 year old or 10 year old, if they have a problem, they're more likely to go to another 9 10 year olds or somebody of their own age, rather than coming to parents. And um, or they may go to someone who don't have their best interest at heart, and so this person gives solutions, and this is how problems keep multiplying in a society. It also fosters present youth culture, which is hostility, aggression, over sexualization, um, also stunt culture. They children whose parents were not emotionally available to them. They were maybe too busy working away, and the child went to nursery full time. I don't know from one, um, and just emotional neglect. Essentially what happens is they'll become very insecure, and they will do anything to get little bit of attention. Like you see nowadays, like young people, they drive the car on one side, or they do this really, really dangerous things, right? And then they post their video on TikTok or somewhere, and they're ready to do anything. They're ready to put their lives in danger to seek and get little bit of attention, which they never got as a young child, right? And which is really sad. And children become overly conformist in terms of language, action, attitude, desensitized, and being cool matters more than everything else. And we see that happening. They just want to be cool. It doesn't matter if it causes inconvenience to other people, if that's inconsiderate. They just want to be seem cool, because then they are accepted by their peer group. Everybody looks up to them in their peer group, etc., etc. So this is what peer orientation and the dangers of peer orientation is, and it stunts growth, you know, because as a parent we love our children. Every parent loves their children, but the love and nurturance we have for our children can't get through, and children feel more insecure, and they have high needs for approval and significance, and they have a very hard time to let go. They can't let go, and they lack true self of who they are and what they believe. So these are the problems if of the peer pressure, and in order to be acceptable by their peers. And this need for attachment, basically every human being has a need to be attached to something or someone bigger than themselves. That's in us, we want to be attached. Human beings, we are not individualistic beings. Like, we always lived as part of a tribe, a part of a bigger community, and we are social creatures, and we have this need for attachment. And um, if we, from young age, if we don't feel this need for attachment, then the peers will overtake. Peers will definitely overtake. So the this can be like, what is the need for attachment, right? This can be described as the movement towards being close to another person. We always want to be close to someone else. um, Attachment formed through senses, yani sight, smell, sound, touch. Proximity is really important. The the drive or relationship characterized by the pursuit and preservation of proximity. We want to be in close contact with somebody, um, identifying with someone and feeling close to them. This is attachment. Having warm and affectionate feelings. When they feel that they belong and matter to somebody, this is what we should give, right? That you belong. We should give that message to our child, that you belong to us, and you matter to us. And unfortunately, when we undermine their feelings, when we dismiss their feelings, when we neglect their emotions, we often end up doing the very opposite. When they feel it's safe to share deeply, this is very important. That comes from a need for attachment, that they should always feel safe to share deeply. Because only then, only when they share, you can offer the right kind of advice. And if you have older children, like teenagers, 15, 16, 14, you can probably see how important it is now, right? Because very young children, they share, but as they grow older, they tend to share less and less, right? Because they don't feel safe. And then we often catch them saying something or sharing something with the experience with their friends, and we wish they'd come to us, right? um, but yeah, they should feel safe to share deeply, and for them to do so, we should never again humiliate, offend, belittle when they share an experience or a thought, uh, because that helps us to get to know what is it really in their minds, and then you can offer the right, like you can do nasiha. But if you don't know what's in their minds, what's in their thoughts, um, then we don't know, like we don't know what to say, right? Children need to be attached to someone who is responsible, mature, and who truly cares for them. And there's no one that can replace a caring parent. Nobody that can replace caring grandparents, aunties, uncles. For most children, for healthy development, they say, Dr. Gabor and Dr. Newfield, they say more than one nurturing adult around themselves. That's why the role of extended family is very, very important. But since we tend to be more living in nuclear families, um, we want to have our own individual space, or um, whatever the reasons. It's a bit philosophical. The book is also a bit philosophical as well. um, uh, Essentially, these needs are arising from individualism and consumerism, which is creating this problem. But if you live near grandparents, aunties, uncles, make sure you create opportunities for your children to have those relationships. Or even if you live far, create opportunities to have, social gatherings with um, your friends who they can refer to auntie or uncle, and have those nurturing adults around them. And so it's not on you to um, do nasiha all the time. Because as they grow older, you can't do anything but just nasiha, just explain, reason. And if it comes from parents all the time, it's not effective. The message need to come from other nurturing adults around your child, which is why it's important that um, we create those opportunities for them to form relationship with other adults that are close to us. So when attachment is strong, then parents are able to provide direction, guidance, nurturance, right? So when we have that kind of attachment, that children feel safe, and we are emotionally available, um, then we can provide direction and nurturance like nasiha, and they take the message on board. And strong parental attachment, like I said, it aids healthy development. It's good for a child's development. It buffers children from tragedy. And their studies, they have studied um, lots of drug addicts, lots of adults who like ended up becoming homeless and you know, uh, not having like functional families, and all these things. It roots from childhood trauma. They did not get their needs met. Either the parents got divorced or separated, or one of the parents or both passed away, etc., etc. Less drug and alcohol problems, definitely. Less suicide, less violent behavior, less early sexual activity. All of this based on studies and research they've conducted. Less tough attitude brought on by peer betrayals. Um, because this is the quote from the book: the love, attention, and security that only adults can offer liberates children from the need to make themselves invulnerable. I just love this quote. When they feel seen, heard, understood, loved, um, they don't need to put themselves in danger um, to get a bit of attention, right? Because all of that comes from insecurity. It liberates children from the need to make themselves invulnerable. Restore them to that potential for life, adventure that can never come from risky activities. So now we've talked about importance of attachment, what attachment is. Now, how can we hold on, right? When we have a baby, the attachment we make is natural. You know, we breastfeed. This is attachment. Breastfeed your child. If you co-sleep, if your baby cries, you just go pick up your baby, pat on the back, rock. These things, like we're responding to their cues. We just pick up a crying baby, or we just try to soothe them, comfort them, cuddle, hug, uh, or offer feed. So we have this in our nature as a most parents, especially moms. We respond to cues we see in babies. For the need for attachment, but that needs to continue into adulthood. And this is not until like your children reach puberty, 14, 15, no, way into their 20s. This is what the message is. This needs to continue way into adulthood. We should be on the lookout. Sometimes they have cues. We should respond to their cues, like your 15, 16-year-old. Make it a habit to draw your kids close daily and repeatedly until they're old enough to function in late adolescence as independent beings. So that cuddles, hugs, kisses, being in close proximity, even if you don't talk, like sitting together, eating together, having family meal times, bedtime stories, or just like check in with each other at bedtime. These things are really, really important. Uh, get in their face and space in a friendly way. This is also one of the advices. Like we must get, especially teens, they you must get in their face and space because, like I said, this is the only way we can find out what's going on. Entice them to stay in a relationship with us, show that you enjoy being together. And one of the practical tips they give is renew closeness after any time of separation. So if they go to school, the moment they come from school is the most important moment, right? If you go to work, the moment you arrive home and your children are home, this is the most important moment. Or even television time. Television time is essentially separation time, homework time. After these, go talk, kiss, cuddle, ask about the school, or tell something about your work, or ask about what they watched and they liked it, etc., etc. Renew closeness after any time of separation. Okay, the ultimately you how you can hold on to your kids is being emotionally available. So again, after any emotional separation, this could be night's sleep. Regularly start the day with talk, cuddles, and stories. Right, when you wake up in the morning, say something positive. When they come from school, say something good. When you come back from work, say something good like, "Oh, I really missed you. How was your day?" etc. And positive affirmations. Um, make sure the child knows they're special, they're wanted. Not special, maybe they're wanted, right? They're important, they're significant, they are missed, like you miss them, and they are enjoyed. And many, like Dr. Gabor Mate says, this one thing that struck in my mind is he says many adults in counseling still grieve the lack of warmth in their childhood. Because sometimes, as a parent, we think we're doing everything right, but the warmth, it may be missing. There's this coldness. Because again, we don't we like maybe it's because something we have not experienced and we can't give, right? So this is very important. The warmth in your voice, the twinkle in your eye. um, Spend time helping your children build friendships with children who share your values. Again, create opportunities, right, for social gatherings. um, and these children usually also recognize the importance of adult attachment because they also have healthy relationship with their own parents, right? And many parents, like many of us, think that the child's self-esteem is based on their popularity, and fear them being ostracized from the cool group. Like we think that their self-esteem is based on how popular they are within their own peer group, whereas really their self-esteem is based on their relationship with a parent. This is really, really good. And I remember somebody asked, when I read the book, I was watching an interview by Dr. Gabor Mate on YouTube, and somebody asked, so, like, what would you say is really important? Like, we have to be very, very careful, and we have to make sure we do these things uh, until our children reach 10, right? Between the ages of 0 to 10. And he was like, no, if you could be, emotionally present, available, validate, respect, not humiliate, not belittle, not offend, not name calling, not backbiting until the age of 3, then you could relax for like decades to come, you know? Like they already formed this sense of self by the age of 3 or 4 or 5. And so the self esteem mainly comes from how we treat them, right? nothing to do with their peer group. Children need to know that you will keep them safe. We will keep them safe, that we are reliable, and we have to be the key person in a child's life, and be the person that builds identity. Like, how do you build identity? Um, by saying positive affirmations. Oh, you have a special way of doing this. Oh, I really like how you cleaned the kitchen. Oh, I really like how you arranged the books today. The more you try to notice the good, the more you repeat it to them, that builds identity. Like, oh, I have a gift for this. Oh, I can do this really good. Oh, I can bake really well. Because they, if children, we all live in somebody else's perception. Like, if they think we think them good, they will be good. Yani, if they believe that we perceive them to be good, they will be good, right? But if they believe that we perceive them to be bad, they will be bad. No matter how many times we say like, you're wonderful, but if your perception of your children is like they're so rude and mean, and they're selfish, and these perceptions, like, we form these perceptions, but you give away, like, directly, indirectly, overtly, covertly, at some point you will communicate these perceptions to them, these assumptions to them, and they will act out in exactly the same way. And so we need to change our own perception of like, how we perceive our kids to be, because at the end of the day, they're still children, right? These are the things that take your children away from you: television, computer, internet, telephone, electronic games, extracurricular activities, sleepovers, text messaging, etc., etc. So every family has different rules, right? You have to put some restrictions. It's up to you. You can sit down and discuss. If you have like teenagers or older kids, you can discuss and come up with rules and regulations that are acceptable by both sides. But there must be some rules and regulations, right? Because if we just hand these things to them and don't have any restrictions, um, then again, the we will lose, basically. We will lose the influence, and the peer influence, or whatever they're exposed to, that will take over. So something that to consider, like, sit down and discuss. And the important thing is we have to be firm and kind at the same time. So, like, being kind and understanding of their emotions does not necessarily mean that you give in to every threat and, nagging, and just like, oh, here you go, like, you can play, or you can do this, you can sleep over. It doesn't necessarily mean that. We have to be firm and kind at the same time. And so it could be like, I know you really want to watch this, and you're really, really upset. I can see you are upset, but unfortunately, you've finished your timing for today. You can watch again tomorrow. What do you want to do now? Should we bake something, or should we go for a walk? You still validate. You show that you're understanding, but you firmly uh, carry on with your ruling. Create structures and routines that help build connections. A family sit down meal, very important. Greeting at the school gate, family walks, playing a game together, cooking a meal, family holidays. I'm not sure. Usually, I find family holidays very, very stressful. Bedtime rituals. Uh, these are the things that may help you to connect, build connection, right? So put energy into creating customs and traditions that connect our children to extended family. Again, it's your responsibility, because every single one of us, we can never blame anything external. Everyone is responsible for their own reality. I'm responsible for my own reality. And if I want to see any change, then I must create that opportunity for a change, and put energy into helping our children build relationships with significant adults, like different age groups, aunties, uncles, uh, neighbors. extended family, grandparents. This is very, very important, very, very important for a healthy development of that child and how that child turns out as an adult. And the most common question is, what if my children are gone? You know, this is something that most of us may have if we did not know the importance of uh, being emotionally available and present, or if we didn't know what validation is or how to validate. We didn't know. If we didn't know these things, we were not aware. We were just recycling and repeating what we experienced as a child, subconsciously, unconsciously, you know. Um, yeah, unless we gain knowledge, we have that awareness. Uh, we see how things can be done differently around us. We will always be recycling and repeating what we experienced ourselves as a child. You may admit it, not admit it, but it's true. Subconsciously we will always be repeating or recycling what we experienced. And so what if my kids are already gone? What they suggest is, again, this is based on the book, right? This is not my own things. Win them back and make it as easy as possible to return, and make it as difficult as possible for the peer group to hold them. We have to win their hearts, minds, not just bodies. And how? Keep trying to validate, keep trying to um, show that you enjoy their company or you enjoy having them. Some of the ideas from the family walks, playing games together, mealtime, bedtime conversations, cuddles, etc., etc. We can only but keep trying. There's no other way around. We can only but keep trying. And unfortunately, oftentimes it hurts your ego. You don't want to look small. You don't want to look, little in front of your own kids. So you're like, oh, I don't want to beg for their attention, because if they keep saying no, like, oh, I've tried. Parents say I've tried. They just keep saying no. But remember, we are the adult here, so we have to keep trying. Even if it hurts, like I said, it really hurts your ego. Um, because you don't want to be um, in a position that is not begging, but maybe begging in converted, inverted commas, um, especially if you come from a family background where the parents are very, very authoritarian, authority figure, and it's very, very hard for you. But we, like I said, this is the only way we can win them back. Give them powerful affirmations, positive affirmations. Are you really good at this? I'm really lucky to be your mother. I'm grateful to have you. Anything little you notice, any tiny positive thing that you notice, say it to them. Like, oh, you're very good at baking. Oh, mashallah, today you prayed on time. I'm very happy. May Allah accept it. Anything you notice, keep repeating. That builds identity. Sometimes, in some cases, that the parents need to create attachment void. What that means is separate them from their peers. You may be changing schools and put yourself in the void. uh, Grounding works if it's seen as an opportunity to build parental connections. Sometimes parents move cities, move towns, move countries, because the peer pressure is that the peer influence, the negative peer influence is so bad, or the peer pressure is so strong. Um, so serious peer attachments may need serious strategies, holiday or weekend, or in some cases parents actually end up moving. So essentially, what you must remember is relationship is top priority. Like, we must remember, right? So remember, your relationship with your child should be the highest priority. This is a reminder to myself as well as to you. Communicate to the child that they're more important than what they have done. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. They will do things that will drive you mad, that will drive you crazy, that will make you very, very angry. You feel like pulling out your hair. You cry at night. You think that, where have I gone wrong? What did I do wrong? It's not you. It's inevitable. Everybody, every child, as they grow, they make mistakes, right? But always remember that your children, at the end of the day, more important than whatever mistake that they have done. And patience. We have to be patient and hold back critical words. This is again a reminder to myself, first and foremost. Often we end up saying uh, things that will really hurt their self-esteem, that will really damage them, that humiliating things or offensive things. You're so rude, you're so mean, you're so selfish, you're such a cow, or whatever. um, these things, like, it really hurts the relationship. And the thing is, you can never make a child behave better by making them feel worse about themselves. So we say everything on earth to make them feel horrible about themselves, and then we expect them to behave better, right? Like, we do that, not knowingly, subhanallah. Like, we just do that. So when you as a parent get hurt, like, this is another thing that I used to do: withdraw, like retreat, allow yourself to be pushed away, right? Okay, whatever. Like, every time I say something, um, and you say something back, and it hurts me. So just, like, don't do that. So if you get hurt, do not withdraw, retreat, or allow yourself to be pushed away. Like, keep trying, keep pushing, keep being there. Like I said, get in their face and space. Temporary breaks in relationship will always happen, always. So keep in mind, it's just a phase. Sometimes it's just a phase. um, it really is. If you keep that in mind, okay, it's just a phase. Then these need not cause major problems. But again, who are the ones to make an effort to build? It's us, right? Sorry, somebody's just calling me. Okay, the one who should be building, making effort to rebuild the relationship should always be us. And often we expect children to make the effort. Like, we expect them to come, apologize, hug, and kiss, and say sorry, I won't do it again, and then we just keep waiting, 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 and sometimes it doesn't happen, and we just again retreat, right? So even if that hurts your, like I said, even if that hurts your ego, because this is not something that you've experienced, um, keep making an effort. Um, and remember, no matter how close the peer relationships are, parents should still be able to have a deeper intimacy. So sometimes they have very, very close friends, and this is no problem as long as you still have a deep relationship. So create an intimacy that enables sharing at an emotional level. So if you have multiple children like me, then maybe having one-to-one special times with one child at a time, like outing or walking or playtime, etc., could be the solution. Yeah, inshallah. So with that, we've come to the end of the today's talk, inshallah. So I'll just finish off with a quote from the book. Mashallah, the relationship between child and parent is sacred. Faced with the challenge of the peer culture, we need to keep our children's attachments to us strong, and to make these attachments last for as long as our children need to be parented. And sometimes it's beyond 18, they need to be parented. And regardless of your age, look at us, we're nearly 40, right? We still need nurturing adults, around us. I still need aunties. I still need my mom, my grandparents, my older sisters. When we face something, we share at an emotional level and we get support and help, even though we're not physically together. Just somebody being able to listen to you without the fear of being misunderstood, without the fear of judgment, and just validating, like, oh, you look very sad. Inshallah, everything will be okay. Yeah, I understand. Things like that. It will automatically calm you down. It's a huge support, right? So children, once they are independent physically, it doesn't mean that they no longer need parents. Yes, they can wash their own laundry, they can cook, they can clean, they don't need help going to the bathroom. They can have shower perfectly by themselves, but still they need nurturing adults around themselves. And we have to be the ones that keep making that effort, right? Because if we don't, then, like I said, if the parents don't fill in that blank, the need of attachment is there in every human being. Human beings are social creatures. But if we don't fill in that void, then somebody else will. That most likely their peers will. And that's a very dangerous thing. That can uh, have negative impact on healthy child development. So that was the end of today's webinar. Please share your takeaways, your insights in the comments. What is one thing that you took away from today's webinar? What is one thing that hit you really hard? What is one thing that resonated with you? Or anything that made the light bulb go in your head and think that, this is something that I will do. Um, Please, I would be very happy if you could share in comments your own takeaways, insights, reflections, as well as if anybody has any questions. We have about 5-6 minutes to take on some questions. Okay, mashallah. Zainab saying, yeah, not letting our ego get in the way, especially when dealing with older children pulling away. Yes, yes. Sometimes we act just like them, right? We act like a child, like we just withdraw and retreat. And sometimes I look around and I'm like, okay, who is the adult here? Because there's still that child inside of us. Sister Farhad saying, not belittling kids on their mistakes. Absolutely, yeah. Your child is more important than whatever it is they've done wrong. Yeah, parenting is not a role, it's a relationship. Absolutely. We tend to go for a power of authority often, and this is how we lose control of everything. Because the more you go for power of authority, um, the less control you will have over them. The more you go for power of relationship, the more control you will have over them. Yeah, affection. Yeah, tarbiyah is essentially a relationship. It's an emotional exercise. nurturing them. Mashallah. Uh, yes, the Prophet ﷺ always had a supportive adult nurturing him, even though he was an orphan. Yep. When I read this book, I strongly considered moving back, um, just to be close to my family. Like many of you may know, we live in Jeddah, right? I work here, so we live here as a family, and alhamdulillah, we have very good expat community, which is very, very supportive. But like my children don't know their aunties and uncles and cousins that well because we never part of any social gathering. So one thing that really considered me to move back for the sake of family was this book. Yes, you can get the recording of this. It will stay here on YouTube, inshallah. You can always watch back via the same link. Yeah, please don't forget to subscribe and like this. If you like this video, then it will increase the likelihood of it being watched by somebody else. Maybe they're looking for guidance, direction, advice. Maybe they'll find it helpful, beneficial. So you can share and forward the link, inshallah. So we've got one question. Sister Hijabia asking, what should we do if one parent wants to establish rules, the other is usually opposing in front of the kids, and those who have been for so long, or this has been for long, so kids have lost interest in both. Yeah, this is something very dangerous. Parents should try not to argue or undermine one another's decision in front of the kids, even though you don't agree with it. You may not agree with your husband, or your husband may not agree with you. In front of the kids, never undermine each other's decision or argue. Try to show united front, and then privately you can address, discuss, and talk, agree on something. When years ago I read an article about top 10 tips disciplining your child, and the first one was have a good relationship with your partner. So again, tarbiyah is mainly how children see parents relationship unfolding in front of them, right? That's very, very important that we show united front. You need to have rules, regulations that's agreed by both. Why does he oppose? Mm, what is his understanding? And really, if it's something that undermines Islamic rules or rulings, then um, there's no compromise, right? If it's something that clear cut, a matter of halal or haram, there's no compromise. But if it's something other than that, then you should sit down, talk, um, before you try to fix your relationship with your children, fix your relationship with your husband. That's very important. Yes, Fatima, rebuilding relations even when they hurt you. Yes, because we do get hurt. Like I said, you feel like crying every day. You feel like pulling out your hair. You feel like, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this pain? Because it causes pain, and it causes hurt. But remember, we are the adult here, so we should just keep making dua. Dua is really important. It gives me comfort. Keep making dua and keep trying. Keep trying, and don't expect them to keep making the effort. Okay, mashallah. The time is up. The rest are just feedback. Mashallah, jazakumullah khair. Yeah, thank you everyone for leaving your feedback. Jazakumullah khair. Sister Hijabia, you can get back, you can get in touch with me. She's asking, how can I get in touch with you? You can get in touch with me via our social media accounts, Raising Young Scholars on Facebook and Instagram, inshallah. And if you have any questions, you can leave your questions. I try to blog post most of the questions received. Check out the parenting podcast we have released, Monday Musings, which is also available on this YouTube channel, where I have answered almost all the questions I received from the parents. I also continue to answer the questions. Usually, I either write an article about it and publish on my blog at www.raising-scholars.com. There's a blog. So most of your questions may have been answered. Just go and search. If not, then feel free to leave your questions. Then I will try to answer it either on podcast or blog post as soon as I can, inshallah. So, Jazakumullah khair for attending today's webinar. May Allah grant us tawfiq to raise our children in the best possible way. Inshallah, may Allah guide us and our children and our families, gather all of us in Jannat al-Firdaus, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.